Bienvenidos a Cosmere 16, un programa dedicado a la obra de Brandon Sanderson, y en especial al Cosmere, claro. Y hoy tenemos invitado súper especial, un invitado internacional. Ahora lo presentaré, pero primero quiero presentar otra vez, después de mucho tiempo, a Mario del Rincón de Hoyt. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Pues muy bien, como siempre, súper contento de estar aquí y súper agradecido de formar parte de la familia de Cosmere 16. Como te digo siempre, Borja, gracias por contar conmigo para todas estas cosas. Y pues súper contento por ahí, la verdad, súper nervioso por ver qué tal será.
Y nuestro invitado es Meric Moir, de Brotherwise, dedicado en cuerpo y alma al Cosmere RPG y a Plotweaver, del que luego hablaremos. Y como comentaba fuera de cámaras, creo que es más sencillo si Meric nos explica cómo llegó a Brotherwise y sobre todo cómo han ido cambiando sus diferentes puestos de trabajo dentro de la compañía, porque se ha movido bastante.
So, Meric, we would be really thankful if you could tell us how you got to Brotherwise and how you changed and moved around in the company, because you've done a lot of stuff, and it's easier if you let us know, because the amount of things is too vast for us to cover.
Of course, thank you. So yes, I have done a bunch of freelancing in the TTRPG industry. I worked for a couple of different companies beforehand, and I was always looking for more projects to work on, interesting things to write. And I was lucky enough to get in contact with Anthony Joyce Rivera, who was the original project lead on the Cosmere RPG. And he saw my portfolio and he put me in touch with Johnny O'Neill from Brotherwise Games, and they invited me to write one chapter of Stonewalkers. So my very first assignment was to write chapter 3, which was very exciting. That was, as a fan, massively cool for me to get to do as a first assignment.
It's the Rathalas chapter?
Yeah. And you should have seen the the copy of Oathbringer that I had with all of these flags and notes of everything about Rathalas in it so that I could tell the story really well. And from there, we did a bunch more work on Stonewalkers. I contributed to the last chapter and helped with revisions. And then we started working on Mistborn. So I became a writer on the Mistborn World Guide. And after about a half a year of that, when Lydia Swen, who is now the lead designer of the Cosmere RPG, stepped into the lead designer role, she asked me to take over the World Guide book lead role. So when we went into revisions, I started working on the World Guide and working with all of the various freelancers that were putting that book together. And shortly after that, I was promoted to lead writer on the Cosmere RPG. And then only a couple of weeks after that, Brotherwise Games hired me full-time, no longer a freelancer, as the Plotweaver RPG director for me to put together the team that would create Plotweaver, the RPG that is based on the underlying system of the Cosmere RPG, and take it in sort of a divergent direction.
Gracias, porque esto no lo hubiese podido explicar yo de ninguna manera.
So thank you. This would have been way too difficult for us to explain. So really thank you.
No worries.
Lo que no te hemos dicho es que por venir a Cosmere 16 todo el mundo se lleva un regalito, que es un pin de especial. Así que no sé cómo lo haremos, pero si se lo pudimos dar a Johnny, yo creo que te lo podremos dar a ti.
So everyone who comes to the podcast gets that special pin just for being part of it. And while it's uncertain the way it'll be done, maybe it'll be sent to Johnny, but you'll get yours sent your way sooner than later.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. I love it.
Como mínimo.
I collect many pins.
No me hables de coleccionar pins de Dragonsteel, por favor.
Please don't get into Dragonsteel pin collecting.
They're right here. They're right to the side. You can see the board.
Yo sufro de esa maldición.
Yeah, Borja suffers from that curse too. And I've got mine around in my Windrunner lanyard.
Bueno, creo que hay una pregunta, antes que todo, que creo que es obligatoria que te haga. Antes de poner con las preguntas menos importantes, yo creo que la más importante es, ¿gustándote lo que te gusta la cocina? ¿cómo no habéis puesto la receta del chouta en el libro de la Guía del Mundo?
So before any other question, and knowing how much you like cooking, why isn't there the chowder recipe in the book, in the cooking book?
That's a very good question. And you know what? A lot of people on the team have talked about how much we want to put recipes in the books. I think that the answer just comes down to page count. But if we can partner with Dragonsteel and come up with some cool recipes and put them out as e-content, I would love to do that. That would be fantastic.
Bueno, y a partir de ahora, a partir de aquí, todas las preguntas serán menos importantes que estas, así que ya nos podemos relajar.
So after this, we can all chill out because there will be no question as important as this one.
Yeah.
Para quien quiera conocer un poco mejor a Meric, hace poco hizo una entrevista con Complicated Opportunities, una entrevista que recomiendo porque allí, bueno, explica bastante de su función y además cuenta alguna cosa interesante sobre Mistborn, sobre la parte de Mistborn del Cosmere RPG, que luego hablaremos. Pero sea como sea, os invito a que vayáis a esa entrevista porque nosotros, digamos, no nos centraremos tanto en el trabajo de Meric, sino que ya más en lo que es el Cosmere RPG.
So there's this interview in the Complicated Opportunities podcast that Meric did, and he talks about a lot of stuff, and he tells really interesting stuff about the Mistborn RPG. Instead of just staying with the Mistborn RPG, we'll be also around talking more Cosmere and general stuff.
Pero, de nuevo, os invito a que vayáis a verles porque es muy interesante.
But you definitely should go watch the interview, though, and it's a really interesting one, so it's really recommended to watch it.
Yeah, they're very good hosts.
Sí, es verdad. Vale, para empezar me gustaría hablar del pasado, del presente y del futuro, en este orden, y me gustaría empezar hablando por el Archivo de las Tormentas.
So in the beginning, we would like to talk about a lot of stuff. We'd like to talk about past, present, and future, and we'll start with the past, talking about Stormlight Archive.
Mm-hmm.
Hace poco aquí en España se ha publicado el Caminapiedras, Stonewalkers, que ha sido la campaña canónica del Cosmere RPG y que está siendo un éxito. ¿Cómo decidís cuál es la parte del lore que queréis explorar, que todavía no habíamos visto?
Stonewalkers was published in Spain not that long ago, and it's being a massive hit. How did you get to choosing the lore that's been explored by the campaign that we had not already seen beforehand?
So the original outline came from Brandon Sanderson and Dan Wells, where they said, this is the story that we would like you to tell. We'd like you to learn this. We'd like to sort of explore this bit that was not covered in the novels. They also had a lot of really cool ideas of things along the way that they would like us to touch on. Like, we wanted to see the Everstorm from the player perspective. We wanted to see named Spren in addition to ones you see in the books. And we wanted to really have it be something where you could start somewhere familiar, the Shattered Plains or, the Unclaimed Hills, and travel across Roshar and sort of like have that journey story so that you could explore a couple of extra things. And then as we're sort of working through that outline, we have the opportunity to say, okay, we're here. Can we do this? Can we go here? Could we show this? When we're here, could we do this? And for the most part, they said, yes, absolutely. This is what that looks like. Or we don't have any details there. Tell us what you would like, and we'll say yes or no. And so we got, the framework and the story, and then sort of iterated on that until we had this very lovely adventure that goes through. And the partnership is wonderful. Dragonsteel They review it at outlines, they review it at first draft, at revisions, in layout, and at the final. So every time through there, we're getting the opportunity to ask them questions and revise, or for them to just read it and say, good, good, good. No, not here. Cut that out.
De hecho, recuerdo que cuando se empezó a hablar de Stonewalkers, Caminapiedras, se incluía también la historia de Nightblood, de Sangre Nocturna. Pero lo recortasteis. ¿Nos puedes explicar un poquito? A lo mejor, claro, entiendo que a lo mejor esto está bajo NDA, así que no sé. Pero ¿nos podrías explicar un poquito qué es lo que se recortó, por qué y de qué iba a tratar?
So when the Stonewalkers campaign came around, there was talking a lot about Nightblood, and this is probably under an NDA. But would you be able to tell us what was cut and why, or something left?
Yeah, that's something I can talk about for sure. Everybody was so excited to include Nightblood. We thought that it was one of the coolest ways to really engage players. And that came from Dan and Brandon, where, like, you know, we want that in there, and we wanted it in there as well. And when we actually sit down to write the adventure, and you're counting out the travel time from A to B, and where things need to be in the story, because Nail has to have Nightblood for him to pass it on to Seth. All of those things need to happen, and the timing just didn't work out. And so there was just...
The timing inside the story, or the timing in Brotherwise?
In the canon story. Okay. Where if the players had Nightblood at this particular point of time, it's too soon or too late, I can't remember, but the problem was it would make the books less likely, and so that was too much of a departure from canon. Because again, these are canon adventures. They're supposed to be what happened. And so while we had this opportunity to be like, we get Nightblood from the Night Watcher, and the players carry it for a moment, and then Nail takes it. It was a cool moment, but in the end, it would have made the books make less sense. And so we just needed Nail to have had Nightblood for longer than that span of time would allow. And so we needed to find another solution, which, you know, no spoilers, but there is another way to sort of fill that niche, which is what we ended up exploring in the books, in Stonewalkers.
Qué pena. La verdad que me hubiese gustado poder experimentar, ¿no? Sentir el poder de Nightblood en mis manos como jugador.
It's a bit unlucky, but it would be really good to experience Nightblood's power as a player.
Yes. Of course, we did design it, and we had it approved, and everybody knew what it did. And so we did end up releasing Nightblood in the Advanced Adversaries PDF. So GMs can still give it to their players, and people can enjoy it and so on. It's unfortunate that it didn't make it into the adventure, but in the end, yeah, we wanted this to be as close to the books and as close to possible in the books as we could make it.
Espero que no sea una pregunta muy complicada, pero entiendo que desde Brotherwise entendéis la importancia que tiene para el lector habitual de los libros el canon. Y que mucha gente que no es jugadora de rol entra por el canon. ¿Tenéis previsto más historias canónicas dentro del Archivo de las Tormentas?
So it's we think that from Brotherwise, you know that canon's really important, and that there's a lot of people getting into the role-playing game just for the canon and for the Cosmere lore in general. So do you have any more rusher ideas coming from for different stories?
Any
for different stories like Stonewalkers?
Oh, like, are there other adventures coming? Yeah. So part of the Kickstarter is that we're doing something called Showdown in Shadesmar. So that'll be an adventure that's higher level, could be played after Stonewalkers if you like, and ideally it can be played by Rosharans or Scadrians. That is in its like outlining right now. We're still working on that one. And we are working on another big Stormlight adventure, which I can't say too much about, but yes, all of our printed hardcover books are canon, will be canon. They go through the entire process of going through Dragonsteel, and so we are working on something that'll be higher level.
Ahora estoy nervioso.
Yeah, now it's time that nerves are really up and hype is really, really up.
Una de las preguntas que tenía preparada, obviamente, era que, ok, tenemos información sobre muchas partes de Roshar, pero hay algo de lo que todavía no tenemos información, y es que claro, entendemos que nos falta el módulo de Shadesmar para poder jugar en Shadesmar y, bueno, aunque está un poco explicado, no hay reglas como tal. Entonces entendemos que cuando salga esta aventura de nivel más alto en Shadesmar tendremos también las reglas de cómo jugar.
So there's a question that we prepared, and it's that there's info about lots of the areas in Roshar, but there's nothing about Shadesmar. So is it possible that when this higher level adventure comes around, there will be way more information about playing in that area?
Well, we do the Shadesmar chapter in the Stormlight World Guide, which, of course, it's just a single chapter. It's much smaller. This adventure, Showdown in Shadesmar, is just meant to be a PDF adventure. It's not going to have a lot of space for diving into a ton of stuff there. It's an interesting thing. There's no discussion right now about a source book or a lot of delving into Shadesmar, but it's certainly worth talking about. I think it's interesting and exciting. What would you like to see more? Would you like to see Shadesmar of Roshar, or would you like to see it more like World Hopper of, the cognitive realm across the Cosmere?
Mira, justamente lo he pensado bastante. Esto que me preguntas lo he pensado bastante. Y a mí me gustaría que hubiera un módulo extra de cada planeta, que fuese el Shadesmar de cada planeta, y luego, cuando salga el módulo de Wall Hoppers, que hubiese un módulo que los uniese todos, de cómo jugar entre ellos, cómo viajar entre ellos.
So the board has really thought a lot about this question, and it's that with every planet, it would be really cool if there's an extra module for these, and when the World Hopper module comes around, it will be really cool to see how they connect around in that specific part.
Yeah. I mean, I hope for those sorts of things as well. Just as a fan of Brandon Sanderson, to get, we have that lovely star map of the Cosmere. To get a map of the Cosmere that takes place in the time of Sunlit Man or Isles of the Emberdark, that shows us those things. Like I would love for us to have the opportunity to publish that.
Maybe sometime. Maybe. Otra de las cosas que he hecho en falta de la historia de Roshar es poder jugar partidas en las antiguas desolaciones. De hecho, nosotros ahora estamos preparando, estoy haciendo spoilers, esto es inédito, pero vamos a preparar una historia bastante grande en una antigua desolación. Y claro, entiendo que hay mucho relato que necesita a Brandon. Pero ¿tenéis previsto en algún momento sacar las normas de cómo jugar las antiguas desolaciones?
So, actually, there's currently missing the desolations from the beginning of the saga. And this is a bit of a spoiler for the channel, but Borja's preparing a Cosmere 16 campaign around that area. So this probably needs Brandon's approval, but is there anything planned or designed around showing us what happened and how to play in the times before the desolations?
We don't have. So the closest we have is the that sort of epic adventure that we did at Dragonsteel 2025, the Lost Desolation, which we are planning to release eventually as a PDF adventure for everybody to play in a
not 400
format. So
players.
you can play it on your table,
yeah.
not 400 people. But no, we don't have any plans right now about products during previous desolations. I think, as a GM, I would love to run a game in those eras. I think it's really exciting. There's a lot of opportunity, and I think one of the coolest things about it is because a desolation like destroys everything, you can have so much freedom and do so many things without sort of worrying about the outcome thousands of years down the road. And so I think anybody who wants to run a game like that absolutely should. It'd be cool. And then you get a lot more fifth ideal radiance or fourth ideal radiance.
Sí, sí, justamente no había pensado en lo de los juramentos, pero sí, es cierto.
Yeah, Borja hadn't thought about the oaths, but yeah, it's actually real true.
Hablando con nuestro GM, que bueno, es una persona que lleva muchos años, tiene muchos años de experiencia, le ha gustado mucho la calidad del producto, le ha gustado mucho el sistema de juego, le ha gustado mucho la campaña que nos ha dirigido, pero al igual que yo, echa en falta eso, más material, porque Roshar es un planeta tan extenso que la parte de Shadesmar y la parte de las antiguas desolaciones como que darían un empaque, harían como el producto más completo.
Yeah,
no es una queja, es una observación.
So this is not a complaint, this is more an observation. That our GM really liked everything about the game, about playing it, but he's missing some material about both Shadesmar and the Ancient Desolations, because with it would be felt like a more complete package.
Yeah, and I think that with a universe as wide as the Cosmere and stories like the Stormlight Archive, there's always more that we could do or can do, and page count ends up being the challenge there. And one of the challenges, certainly about publishing in TTRPGs, and this project in particular, is art. Because we like to have an art piece on every spread if we can do it. And the words are complicated and take revision and take all of those approval steps with the licensor, with Dragonsteel. But they're relatively less expensive than art pieces. And so the cost of a project goes up so much higher every page you add. And so we have to make those like tough calls, being like, if we've only got 280 pages for our world guide, what is the highest value that we can provide to the most tables of players? And so Shadesmar ends up getting shorter stuff there. And I mean, I wish that we could have gone into more depth in some of the regions. Like, I've always wanted to know more about the Reshi Amia, but the Reshi Isles in Marabithia in particular. Like, those are areas that I'm very interested in exploring, and hopefully we have the opportunity to do so in the future. But at the same time, the story continues moving forward. Once we start getting Stormlight 6, many years down the road, there's going to be so much more new stuff to talk about. So that's always the challenge.
Lo entiendo y por favor no te lo tomes como una queja, sino como nos gusta tanto que queremos más. Es simplemente eso.
So please don't feel this as a complaint. It's just that we love the game so much. We want more of it. So
We want to write more. We want to print more. We're just as much fans, and so it's really just strategically picking what we think is the best option for each particular book. But I think that you'll be happy with some of the stuff that we've got planned and coming.
Estoy seguro que sí. Justamente una de las preguntas iba enfocada a que mucho de lo que comentamos en redes, nosotros publicitamos mucho el tema del Cosmere RPG porque para nosotros es una parte troncal de nuestra creación de contenido, y mucha de la gente tiene miedo, jugadores de rol de toda la vida, tiene miedo que cada vez que se publique un nuevo planeta, el anterior deje de tener importancia y que se dejen de publicar material a su alrededor. Pero con lo que nos has comentado entendemos que esto no va a ser así.
So in social media, we talk about Cosmere RPG a lot. It's part of it. And there's people that's afraid that whenever content for a new planet is published, the planets beforehand will be a bit forgotten and have less content written for them. We understand it's not like this, but want to chill them out too.
Yeah, I mean, that's valid. Like, as we move forward and we start doing other projects, like we've talked about World Hopper and Elantris and Warbreaker, if you're a person who just likes Stormlight, you want more Roshar stuff. And so the publishing schedule tries to take that into account. We can't promise that every setting is going to have a book or a release every year, because everything is canonical and it's in partnership with Dragonsteel, we don't want to overload them with too much stuff to review. We have to respect their time. Particularly, I feel like they're going to be busy coming up with this new Apple TV deal or something.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's all just balancing. But no, we never ever want to leave a setting behind, and we want to continue providing content for those things. Like we're doing a couple of additional Stormlight releases this year. What is it? I mean, we just did the free romantic path for
me ha encantado. Ha sido espectacular. Además, la historia detrás de Johnny con su personaje y demás ha sido espectacular.
Yeah, I loved it, and the story behind Johnny and his character is really amazing.
It was a very, very good moment at Dragonsteel. One of those moments as a GM that keeps you on your toes, and you're like, okay, yes, let's have some fun. We're doing a free RPG Day adventure, which is a brand new Stormlight adventure, which will come out this summer. And then we're doing Mistborn. And we're very excited for Mistborn. We've got a whole bunch of things planned. But like I'd said, another Stormlight adventure is coming after that.
Y ahora es un muy buen momento para empezar a hablar de Mistborn, de la parte de Mistborn que sale a finales de año.
And now it's getting to be a really good moment for talking about Mistborn, which is coming later on this year.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Nos habéis hecho ya un pequeño spoiler de Mistborn Legacy, que va a ser la campaña canónica y que va a estar situada tanto en la primera era como en la segunda. ¿Cómo habéis llegado a esa decisión?
So you've already spoiled us a bit about Mistborn Legacy, and it'll be set up both in first and the second era. How did you get to making that decision?
Yeah, so there was always a question of where do we put most of our focus with Mistborn? Do we expect that people would be playing more in Era 1 or more in Era 2? And eventually we decided, well, we've got to support them equally. They're very exciting, and they both have different audiences that overlap and so on. So when Brandon and Dan were talking about what the adventure Mistborn Legacy would look like, they were excited about having it cross both eras and affect into Era 2. Like the choices that you make in Era 1 should change what happens in Era 2. And so this one was very much like Dan Wells was very involved and excited about the outline for Mistborn Legacy, and he came up with a lot of the initial ideas that then Lila Fujiwara, who is the book lead and the project lead for Cosmere RPG, carried on into outline and writing in all of these phases. Some people may know that originally the structure of the campaign was that you would play one chapter of Era 1 and then one chapter of Era 2, and you would switch back and forth until the end of the campaign. Mm-hmm. In playtesting, we found that that was not fun. The idea is super cool, but in practice, having to think about two different parties and different NPCs and keep those straight when potentially you could be playing one chapter for like 6 weeks and then switching and then playing another 6 weeks, you have no idea what's going on. The continuity wasn't strong enough. Mm-hmm. And so in the summer, we made the choice after playtesting to turn it into play all of Era 1 and then play all of Era 2. And it's definitely a stronger adventure because of it.
Y obviamente no nos puedes decir los pormenores de la historia, pero ¿rellenará algún hueco al igual que ha hecho Stonewalkers?
So obviously you can tell us about specific details of the story, but will it fill any details or spaces that have been left open like Stonewalkers did?
Not in the same way. Mm-hmm. So Stonewalkers was very much, there is a question that hasn't been answered, and we would like to answer it, take this opportunity to. Mistborn Legacy, the goal with it was very much to tell a very cool untold Era 1 story and then show how those things echo forward into Era 2. And I'm just trying to think. There are character cameos, a couple of small ones, but it doesn't do the same sort of thing. It's not answering a question, it's telling a new story.
Interesante, interesante. Veremos en qué se parecen y en qué se diferencian. Tengo curiosidad.
So Borja's curious about how much they look like, and they are different. So we're really curious about it.
Stonewalkers to Mistborn Legacy?
Yeah.
Legacy is longer, certainly. Off the top of my head, so Mistborn Legacy Era 1 is levels 1 to 5.
Okay.
And then when you start Era 2, you either start at level 2 or level 3, and you go up to level 9 in Era 2.
Esos son muchos capítulos.
Yeah, that's really a lot of chapters.
Yeah, a couple of the chapters have level ups in the middle. So you do a bunch of adventure, and then there's level up, and then you continue still within that same chapter. That's one of the major changes. One of the cool things, of course, is this mechanic that we've called legacies. So it's an optional mechanic, but it's very, very cool. And I won't say too much about it. Like, the book is going to print. This is all final stuff, but I want to save some exciting things for when people open the book. But it's an optional mechanic that you choose something that your character has in their backstory. Say if you were an official in the Steel Ministry, and there are prompts throughout the adventure that happen if that legacy is in play. And if nobody is playing that particular legacy, then those prompts probably don't happen. And then when you get to Era 2, the legacy of those stories continue forward into new prompts and new optional story bits, which is just a really fun, very difficult thing to write, but a very, very fun thing to include in the adventure. And so that's different from Stonewalkers. Stonewalkers, it's a pretty straightforward adventure story. Legacy goes a little bit deeper into themes about the choices that nobles make in Era 1 and the outcomes that we suffer from in Era 2.
Vale, sí, sí. Veo cómo puede suceder, sí.
Yeah.
Tengo la sensación, y creo que a más gente le pasa, que las historias que los masters se pueden inventar en Mistborn, sobre todo en la Era 2, dan pie a partidas más casuales que en Stormlight. Como que las partidas de Stormlight tienen que ser muy épicas, porque si no juegas con un radiante, a lo mejor no... Jolín, estás jugando en Roshar, tienes que ser un radiante. Y en Mistborn Era 2 como que da pie a partidas más casuales, pues una investigación de un asesinato, no sé. ¿Tenéis esto en cuenta o creéis que no, que la gente va a jugar más o menos parecido?
So, Borja thinks that in regards to playing Stormlight, it gets to be more epic because playing as a Radiant gets more epic by itself, while playing during Era 2, for example, brings a bit more of a casual play, because players might be just investigating a crime or searching for something, and this might bring a more casual experience to the table. Do you take this into consideration while designing, and do you plan for it?
We do. Early on, I think we talked about this at Dragonsteel in 2024. We really like Era 2 as a setting for a role-playing game because of that, because there's more of that permission to be a little bit silly and a little bit casual in Era 2 of Mistborn. When you compare it to Era 1 of Mistborn, everything is super bad all the time, and you've got to kind of live with that. And then when you compare it to Stormlight, everybody is going through these deep personal journeys that you want to enjoy and explore. But Era 2, like you said, you could just be investigating a mystery. You could be going on an adventure to some mountains. And those sorts of things, I think, free up a lot of avenues for interesting, shorter stories, adventures, and campaigns.
Estoy de acuerdo, ¿eh? De hecho, nosotros nos inventamos, antes de tener las reglas, nos inventamos unas historias muy locas en una comisaría de policía en un distrito. Y bueno, te puedes imaginar el tipo de historias locas que parecía eso, loca academia de policía.
Yeah, so Cosmere 16, before we had the rule set, we had there were some ideas planned and thrown around, mainly around a police station, and it looked like a movie because all the crazy things planned and debated and shown around and thrown.
When I was playtesting Mistborn, my internal group, we did something called the Whistle Street Explorers Guild. And so we just had our location, and then we went out to fun little explorer adventures as gentle person explorers in Elendel, which was a really, really fun short campaign.
Ahora que has hablado de Elendel, curiosamente de Roshar conocemos muchas ciudades y muchos países, pero de Scadrial no tanto. Es verdad que en Era 2 se nos abre un poco el horizonte, y comentabas en el podcast de Complicated Opportunities que veríamos nuevos sitios de Scadrial. ¿Qué nos puedes contar de eso?
So in regards to locations, we've seen a lot of stuff around Russia, but in Scadrial, we've mainly seen Elendil. And in the Complicated Opportunities podcast, you let us know that there's more locations that will be opening up and that will be available for players. Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Yeah. So this kind of goes back to your GM's feeling that there were some things missing in Roshar. For the Mistborn World Guide, we saw that people really liked the points of interest chapters. And so we put more of the book towards those. They're longer in the Mistborn World Guide than they were in the Stormlight World Guide. We have more words for them and more art, and we just have more points of interest. One chapter is specifically Era 1 points of interest, and then another chapter is specifically Era 2 points of interest. There is, unfortunately, no Cognitive Realm chapter in the Mistborn World Guide. Just not enough content there. Kelsier goes there in Secret History, and that's kind of it. But what I can say is Dragonsteel was very generous with us with Era 1, where they said, you can do what you would like in Era 1. Write a lot, explore interesting things, and go anywhere on the map that you would like to do. And so, we do Luthadel, we do the Pits of Hathsin, and the Condra Homeland. Those are kind of rolled together. We do the Terrace Dominance, and we do the Crescent Wastelands. So this is a brand new area, which is a subsection area of the Crescent Dominance. And it's what the final empire would look like when there's a lot less control, where the nobles and the Steel Ministry are there, and they're quite brutal and scary, but there are nomadic Ska or rebel Ska who are living their own lives separate from the final empire, just out on the fringes. So we got to do some very interesting, cool things with that. And then in Era 2, we wanted to be as safe as we could, because we don't want to complicate Era 3.
Okay.
Brandon is writing that. We don't want to introduce things that are going to make his life harder. So we were relatively conservative with the existing things. The points of interest for that are Elendil, Bilming, New Saren, and the Roughs, the Northern Roughs. Mm-hmm. And those are mostly things that you already see in the books, with additional stuff at kind of a street level addition. Dragonsteel did say, let's give you one location that you can come up with whatever you like there. And so that was the Conrad Delta. So we worked with Isaac Stewart to find a place on the map that we could have a little sandbox and say, let's make a really cool thing for RPG players and just write whatever we like. And so we made a new city, a small frontier city called New Tremredare, which is sort of like a Las Vegas, New Orleans. Yeah, there's a little bit of like gambling, steamboats and casinos. There's a lot of exploration of a swamp that is rumored to have Era 1 architecture and artifacts that people can find.
A lo mejor te estoy empujando mucho, ¿eh? Pun intended. Pero vamos a ver esa ciudad y ese pantano en Mistborn Legacy.
So maybe this is pushing too much, pun intended, but will we see these in Mistborn Legacy?
The location, no. But the location itself is tied to a main character in Era 2 of Mistborn Legacy, yes. The world building is all wrapped together, but Mistborn Legacy does not specifically take you to that point of interest. That's one where we said, we're going to put it out there. There's a beautiful map by Marco Bernardini. Oh, it's gorgeous. And it's really meant to be a playground for RPG players to say, you know, we're really excited to play in Elendel, but Elendel's on the page and we don't want to get it wrong. But if we go to the Conrad Delta, we can do whatever we want. It's our space. And so that's sort of the intention of that location.
Suena fantástico.
Yeah, it sounds really, really good.
I had a lot of fun. When I was brought into the Mistborn World Guide as a freelance writer, I was writing the points of interest chapters. So I wrote chapters 6 and 7, with the exception of the Crescent Wastelands, which was written later by Jess.
Okay. Ya para dejando ya la parte de Mistborn, en el Metal Perdido, digamos que el libro se vuelve bastante Cosmere aware. ¿Tendremos cosas parecidas en la guía del mundo?
So to sum up with Mistborn, during the Lost Metal, the book becomes really Cosmere aware. Will something similar happen with the World Guide for this part?
So the World Guide assumes that you are playing between the Bands of Mourning and the Lost Metal.
Oh.
So that's the sort of like setting that we've chosen. So the history chapter of the World Guide does go to the end of the Lost Metal and explain the things that happen, but you know, in a brief sense. The cosmology chapter talks about autonomy and her activities on Scadrial and those sorts of things. But from the perspective of the regions and cultures chapter, the points of interest chapter, and the allies and organizations chapter, the Lost Metal hasn't happened yet.
Perfecto.
Yeah, there's a good like 4-year span in there, which is really good Era 2 adventure opportunity.
Sí. Antes de abandonar la parte de Mistborn RPG, ¿hay algo que nos quieras contar que no hayas dicho o todo bien?
So before fully leaving the Mistborn RPG section, is there anything you would like to tell us that we've not asked you, or is it fully fine for you right now?
Oh, I mean, Mistborn is one of my absolute favorite settings, and so there are so many things that I could talk about that I would love to. Off the top of my head, I would say some of the most fun I have had is in Era 2 with people getting kind of silly with their twinborn powers. We've had many long conversations about, can you turn a gun into a metal mind? And the answer is kind of. A metal mind needs to be one solid piece. So you could pick one piece on the gun and kind of make it into a metal mind. But, you know, a gun's made of a whole bunch of multiple moving pieces, and so you can't do the whole thing. And so we've had these long conversations of like, but it's my metal mind, so it's invested, so you can't pull it from me. And it's like, well, and it's those are fun. And the handbook is huge. It is nearly 400 pages because it needed to cover 16 metals for Allomancy and Ferrochemy, and so there's quite a bit of player-facing content in the handbook.
No hay hemalurgia.
I think
So no hemalurgy around.
Hemalurgy is there. We treat it as goals and rewards. So there aren't talents for sort of like learning to do it, but you can gain spikes and you can add them to your character and gain benefits and abilities and so on. That is totally there. And Hemalurgy, I will say, features pretty prominently in Mistborn Legacy.
Ok. Muchas gracias por todo lo que nos has explicado. La verdad que tenemos muchas ganas de que llegue final de año, no sé la fecha exacta, pero de jugar ya a la campaña de Mistborn Legacy y ver todo lo que trae.
Yeah, thank you so much for explaining us all of this. It's really hype is increasing for the last part of the year. So we have the Mistborn Legacy campaign, even if we don't know the date yet. It's excitement's building up to play it as soon as possible.
Yeah, the English versions will be out in the fall. I don't, off the top of my head, know when the Spanish versions will be available, but
Casi a la vez. Almost at the same time.
great. Good.
Sí. Vale, no sé si esta pregunta, obviamente, me vas a decir que no, pero por si acaso yo te la hago antes de pasar a Plotweaver. Pero, ¿qué podemos esperar después de Mistborn? Sé que todavía no nos ha llegado Mistborn y que hablar del futuro quizá no toca, pero por si acaso, ¿qué podemos esperar después de Mistborn?
So you'll probably say no to this question, but as Mistborn's not already out and talking about it is a bit fast, maybe, is there anything you can tell us about what to expect after Mistborn arrives and we get it for us and we get it to play?
So there's one thing that I can't say that I will hint at and say there will be some more content pretty quick in retail. And then I will also say, in the same way that we are planning to support Stormlight with an additional adventure, we are, of course, going to do another Mistborn adventure past Legacy. In sort of like the length of development cycles, those are things that we are talking about and planning right now. So the Mistborn core 3 books, the GM screen, those will be, in retail this year. And then some more stuff will come. And of course, I love Free RPG Day. As I mentioned, we're doing a Stormlight adventure here in 2026. The intention would be to do a short Mistborn adventure for 2027's Free RPG Day as well. Oh, and of course, Mistborn Scenarios. That one is, people are aware of that. That is coming.
Entiendo que una cosa parecida al Puente 9, ¿no?
So something similar maybe to Bridge 9?
Something similar to Bridge 9 is coming.
Okay.
Oh, actually, there is one other thing that I want to mention. So thinking about Mistborn Scenarios, the question becomes advanced adversaries. We're not planning to do an advanced adversaries for Mistborn, but built into the Mistborn World Guide are allomancy modules and feruchemy modules. So right in the hardcover book, you'll have the ability to say, you know what, I want this particular haze killer to be a tin eye. And you can just take the module and apply it, and you have a tin eye adversary.
Oh, cool. Ok, then. Vamos a pasar a Plotweaver, que creo que es una de las cosas más desconocidas para el jugador medio, pero que aquí tenemos mucha curiosidad.
So let's move on to Plotweaver, which is something that's mainly unknown for the average player, but there's a lot of interesting stuff around it.
Antes que nada, ¿nos puedes explicar en qué consiste? Pero explícalo para la gran mayoría de gente, para el que pueda venir nuevo.
So before starting, could you explain it for the average player, for the someone who's coming new, like kind of in those for dummies books that are sometimes published for teaching stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So Plotweaver is the role-playing game system that's underneath the Cosmere. So if you take out any of Brandon Sanderson's writing, you're still left with rolling a d20, rolling the plot die, leveling up your character, and choosing talents. Now, those individual talents are not going to be radiant paths because that's the Cosmere. That is the licensed stuff that's part of that. But the other parts of the game, that's what we call Plotweaver. And we are developing additional games and books that use that system.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll be able to play your own TTRPG adventure. Right now, we're developing a fantasy setting, a science fiction setting, and a modern urban fantasy setting. And when those come out, you'll be able to play using the rules from the Cosmere that you're familiar with in a setting that's not the Cosmere. We're doing this for a couple of reasons. First, the Cosmere is intimidating for a number of people who are just gamers first. And maybe they like the system and they want to play with something that doesn't require reading all of Brandon Sanderson's novels. I mean, I personally don't believe that you need to read all the novels to play the Cosmere RPG, but it is something that some people are turned off by. Another reason that we want to do it is that we can experiment with new rules and things that could eventually go into the Cosmere RPG as Brandon releases more books. So when we're moving into the space age of the Cosmere, we can have these fully tested, really well thought out vehicle rules that we've already released in Plotweaver, and we get to put into the Cosmere RPG. And one other major reason we want to do this is because we want to give people a tool set to design and write their own Plotweaver stories or adventures that are also compatible with the Cosmere RPG. And so Plotweaver will allow people to, say, design a whole new path or a whole group of adversaries and share them with their friends and sell them in a very open gaming, in an open license, as opposed to Cosmere, which, because we have to protect the IP, has only a fan content license. Mm-hmm. So Plotweaver is going to allow people to experiment, write, design, sell their things, and it will be fully compatible with Cosmere.
¿Vais a colaborar con escritores, escritores de campañas o de settings del mundillo? ¿O esto está pensado para que vosotros simplemente vendéis la licencia de Plotweaver y que la gente haga la suya?
So are you planning on collaborating with established writers and content creators in the scene? Or are you thinking more about just being able to sell the license and people build their own idea and their own stuff?
Definitely both. So right now, if you go to plotweaverrpg.com, we have our team, which has a bunch of well-known names in the TTRPG industry. So these are our developers. These are people bringing very cool, exciting ideas. And then when we release, we will encourage and hope for all of these creatives in the industry to come and create their own things in Plotweaver. On top of that, if there are other licenses like Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere that are interested in developing with Plotweaver or having us develop something with Plotweaver, that's something that we are open to. We'd love this game to be very successful and be very exciting and very large. We're trying to be very considered about the right projects to take, because Plotweaver is a game that tells heroic stories with level progression and a little bit of combat and a little bit of conversation very well. It is not a game that tells every story very, very well. I would be a little bit skeptical of like a slasher horror property coming into Plotweaver, because the system doesn't fit it as well. I think you could do it, but it wouldn't be something that I think is a perfect fit the way something like Cosmere is, or some of the other ones that I would love to name, but maybe I shouldn't.
Entiendo, por lo que estás diciendo, que las fechas que tenéis anunciadas como Secret Kickstarter, se trata de IPs conocidas que han comprado la licencia para el setting en Plotweaver.
So maybe are those secret dates you have shown around IPs who have already bought the Plotweaver system for them?
You're right. We do have some secrets on our roadmap. The first one is you'll notice scheduled right around Gen Con. And we have a very exciting announcement there that we are leaning towards. The other one, I think nobody is seeing coming. I don't think anybody is currently expecting what we're going to do, what we're going to announce by the end of the year. So you can speculate on that. Definitely, I think that Plotweaver will succeed when there are more people playing it and more IPs behind it. So anything that we
obviamente sin revelar las IPs que están involucradas, ¿qué IP se te ocurren que te gustaría a ti? Aunque sean imposibles, ¿eh? Por ejemplo, a mí se me ocurre Hora de Aventuras. Me gustaría mucho que estuviese en el sistema de Plotweaver, que creo que hace poco han sacado un sistema ellos de rol, pero me gustaría verla en el sistema de Plotweaver. ¿Cuál te gustaría a ti?
So without revealing anything, Borja's thinking about maybe Adventure Time, which actually they have shown their own system and their own stuff. What are the IPs, even if impossible, that you would love to see around working with Plotweaver?
I have said it before, and I will say it till I am blue in the face. I would love to do Wheel of Time. You can see behind me, I have my Wheel of Time books right beside my Brandon Sanderson books. And I think that Wheel of Time is a fantastic fit for our system. I can't obviously confirm anything
No.
in that direction, but that's personally one that I would love to work on. There's a couple that I think would fit very well.
¿Crees que un sistema de magia tan blando como el de la Rueda del Tiempo se adaptaría bien a un sistema como el de Plotweaver?
Do you think such a soft system magic system, as opposed to Brandon's one, which is so hard and defined, would adapt properly to Plotweaver, being like so soft and open?
Yeah, I think so. If you look at the way that we've done surges in Stormlight, with sort of the initial make a surge binding roll and you can have this effect, but you can also do a creative thing and just have your GM adjudicate it. I think that falls very well into Wheel of Time, where if someone says, I'm going to make a channeling roll because I want to heat something up with Weaves of Flame. that's handled pretty easily. Whereas if you want to do something like a gateway, well, that's just like transportation in Stormlight.
Yeah.
So I think that it would fit pretty well. You know what? Talking cartoons, I'd love to see Steven Universe.
Oh,
That would be a fun one.
definitivamente me gusta más que la idea de Hora de Aventuras, ¿eh? Y mira que Hora de Aventuras me gusta mucho.
Yeah, definitely. Borja really likes that idea. Way,
Yeah.
Actually, more than Adventure Time.
I love Steven Universe. I have watched. I watch it. Like we watched it on our own, but introduced it to the kids as well, and they loved it. And play the songs on road trips with the family. Yeah.
Gente, pongan Steven Universe a sus hijos, por favor.
Please, people, play Steven's Universe to their children.
Yeah, it's a great way just to be like empathy and understanding and forgiveness. Like Steven leading with compassion to any villain is such a good story. And then Steven Universe Future, where they explore the toll that takes on Steven, is also really powerful.
A mí me gusta mucho el mensaje de aprender a crecer, ¿no? Que a veces a los niños les cuesta tanto entender por qué tienen que crecer y ser mejores personas.
Yeah, it's that message of growing up is a really beautiful one for children, because sometimes it's tough for them being able to learn how to grow up and be better people and just make the world around them a better place.
Exactly. Yep.
Bueno, creo que ha quedado un mensaje muy bonito para acabar este podcast. No sé, antes de cerrar, Meric, no sé si quieres comentarnos alguna cosa más del tema que sea, micro abierto.
So, as an open mic, just before closing, is there anything you actually want to tell us? Just no matter the topic, if we've covered it in the podcast or not, is there anything you would love to share with the world?
Yeah. One of the things that we're working on, again, just doing what we can to make sure that this game, Cosmere RPG, succeeds, is something that we just announced today on the day of recording, is that we are going to be doing supporting a GM ambassador program, which is going to be called the Brotherwise Envoy Team.
I'm checking Gillian message just right now.
She just posted
What
it.
a good timing.
Yeah. And so, unfortunately, it is at this time just in the US and Canada. But it is something that I personally want to expand over the next couple of years, because I think that making games easier to play for more people is something that we should be doing as a company. And so this is one program that we're doing for that, where we want to give sort of perks and little treats and help to the people who are out running the game. And if we have a successful, busy program this year, we can expand it next year, and we can continue to build it. And it'll be Stormlight right now, and Mistborn later, and Plotweaver eventually.
Me da un poco de pena que sea solo en Estados Unidos y en Canadá, porque nosotros esto de nuevo es un spoiler muy gordo para el canal, pero vamos a montar algo bastante importante en España, y es una pena no poder participar de esto.
So Borja's heart is a bit broken for this only being for the US and Canada, because as a big channel spoiler, they're currently working on something really big behind the scenes in Spain around the game and stuff, and it's sad it's not possible for Cosmere 16 to be part of this.
Yet. The goal is to expand, and I would absolutely love you to be a part of it. And that is something that we should discuss and see what timing makes sense for that. Because the only reason that it's US and Canada is just the logistics of mailing things out to people. So once we can solve that, and if we can show that the program is valuable to people, that is something that we would like to expand.
Lo entendemos, de verdad que lo entendemos. Pero al igual que nos pasa a veces con Dragon Steel, quizá pues con Brotherwise también está bien verbalizar que a veces pues en Europa y en otros continentes o en otros países, a veces nos sentimos un poco como los segundones. De nuevo, no es una crítica, pero sí que es algo que nos gusta siempre comentar a nuestros invitados internacionales, que sepan que en Europa les queremos mucho.
So this also, please don't take it as criticism. We totally understand the logistics side of it being way easier to ship both for US and Canada. But as it happens with Dragonsteel, we in Europe sometimes feel like the forgotten child, because it gets for us a bit jealous seeing everyone in the US getting to experience everything and having everything. And I said Europe, but I also extend to Latin America and to the rest of the world. And we really love doing stuff. We love taking part in it, and sometimes it just breaks our hearts not to be able to take part when things are going on for the first time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I honestly do wish that we could do more. It is very exciting to me that we have such a large committed audience in like around the world, and supporting you is something that we are planning to do. It's just when we can.
Lo entendemos perfectamente.
It's totally understandable.
Yeah. You are not forgotten. You are very loved.
De nuevo, no es una crítica, pero creemos que cuando vienen invitados internacionales tenemos que explicarles lo mucho que valoramos el esfuerzo que hacen, pero que Europa existe y todos los otros continentes y países también, obviamente.
So as we said, it's not criticism, but whenever someone international comes around, because we like to show how we feel and the concerns we have and the feelings we have, because you're also a voice for us, and it's really good being able to say it. And it's just not Europe, but everyone around in general. And we want to just voice it to you so you know, and don't forget about us around in the other part of the city.
Absolutely.
Meric, ¿te lo has pasado bien?
Did you have fun today?
Absolutely. It was wonderful chatting with you.
Muchísimas gracias. Has sido súper amable. He quedado enamorado de tu voz. Nos has explicado un montón de cosas y ojalá poder charlar contigo dentro de un tiempo y que nos expliques nuevas historias y que nosotros podamos decirte lo bien que nos lo hemos pasado jugando la campaña de Mistborn.
So thank you so much for coming around. You've been a wonderful guest, and Borja said it, but I also say it for myself. We've both fallen in love with your voice. And
thank you.
We were able to catch up in some time and let you know our experiences playing and just getting to see more, to talk more, and to see what's coming on and what's the future for us.
Yeah. You have my email. I invite you to reach out at any time. Absolutely. I would love to hear your stories, and I would be happy to come back on the podcast anytime you'd have me.
Thank you very much, Meric. Bueno, ya sabéis, como este es un podcast del Cosmere RPG, vamos a cerrar esta vez diciendo que, como siempre dice nuestro querido jugador Kelsier, siempre habrá otra partida de podcast más. Así que hasta el siguiente. Chao, chao.